All right, everyone. Welcome to another exciting week of our Mission Matters Twitter Spaces. Every week, we put a dialogue together, bringing on a special guest where we interview them about their background. This week's dialogue is focused on an interview with the venture capitalist Charlie Lass, who's one of the founders of Dallas Inc. And we will be discussing the future of investing here. And so, with that, the way that we coordinate these interviews for those of you just tuning in, or hearing or listening into for the first time, because these conversations are recorded and we do publish them live thereafter. Our company is called Mission Matters. We are a media platform focused on the needs of entrepreneurs, executives, experts. We amplify their stories so that we can inspire and educate future generations. The way that we go about doing this also is we have a book publishing division in our company where we published about 300 authors. We have a podcast agency and podcast network where we have nearly 200 podcasters that we launched a podcast for. We also have a PR and a digital marketing division where we help companies and individuals grow their brands and scale it from there. And so what we do is invite all of our clients collectively to join in these dialogues, and also our extensive network at large. And so what we do is ask a series of questions. And so we'll go through and we'll do a proper for Charlie, but just some basic ground rules. I know we've got a small intimate crowd here, but typically just to make sure, because the people listening may not know who is talking, because some people might be listening in on their some of their social media feeds or the podcasting feeds where it's difficult to listen and tune in, so they won't know your. So just make sure to say your name right before you speak or right as you're asking a question. And along with that, there's a button and icon just to raise your hand. So if you have any questions, let us know. But with that, let me do a proper introduction for Charlie, and then I'll pass it off to my counterpart, Adam, who can then lead the dialogue. So Charlie Lass is a career entrepreneur with multiple exits in the UK and US. He's the founder of Humble Private Equity. He's an MIT grad and lecturer, advisor to startups, multinational, and security services. He's an expert on the idea to market phase and building great teams. He's also the founder of Dallas Inc., a venture studio and fund. Charlie will share his journey with all of our guests in the venture and what the future of investing holds. And just a side note, Charlie is also an author in our business leadership book series. And on top of that, he is also one of our PR clients. So we get to share his story and get to get the inside scoop of what he's working on as well. So with that, Adam, take the lead.
All right, Shirag, thank you for that. And just one small correction, Shirag, we are officially over 300 authors now. Yeah.
Wow.
Not almost. We are official. Yeah, no, the last couple of days we were able to do some distribution on our most recent book launch that put us over that. So I was talking to some people and I just did some post stuff and I'm like, man, it's surreal going from, we've been at this for years now, but just to see the amazing community really that's developed from this, and just the stickiness of everybody kind of, being in this together as entrepreneurs, as business people, as really just trying to add value to the marketplace in whatever our niches are. Many different niches, many different ways to do that, but just doing it with the right heart and the right spirit. And I just feel like I'm just grateful. I was like, when I saw the number, I'm like, wow, we're there. We don't have to say almost anymore. So just update for you, Shirag. All right. Well,
Congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do, and you as well, Mark. Mark is an author, and just to, I guess, just get us started here. We're not going to start with the cage fighter story. We're going to say that for a moment or two long because I don't want to derail the whole interview. But I'm leaving that as a hook. I'm leaving that as a bait. We got. So everybody, will keep listening. We got a cage fighter story coming from Charlie. But maybe just to get us kicked off here, Charlie. I don't want to. I don't want to assume that everybody has kind of seen Humble or maybe some of your other work. So just tell us maybe a little bit over and above like what Shirag said, just a little bit more about how you got fascinated and how helping entrepreneurs and going down this route, it just became your thing. Like, tell us how that took place.
Awesome. Well, there's Charlie here. Thank you very much for having me on the show, I guess. The cage fighter story isn't sort of me in sort of in a Logan Paul kind of way, just to make that absolutely clear. It's not me in the ring, but it is a very interesting story. So how do we get into this? So I started launching my own thing straight out of, well, during university. And then I never really stopped, never went and got a proper job, which in some situations sounds fantastic, but in lots of other ones really, really isn't. There are many, many times over the years that I just wish I'd gone joined
Mm.
a bank or something and just had a normal job that provided some predictability and, not be responsible for absolutely everything from the inception of an idea to an exit. And that's really the desire to help people not go through the same level of stress and strain and learning everything from scratch. That's why we launched Humble. That's why we launched Dallas Inc. as a fund and consultancy. And that's really brought me to meet some amazing people and mentor more than, as you I think it was last month, more than 400 startups, and the tactics
Mm.
and the strategy and the business model across the UK, across Europe and the US. So yeah, it's trying to save people from having to go through all of that journey themselves.
Yeah. And I want to, and we'll segment this just slightly because I want the audience to follow along. And this will be, by the way, just for everybody listening and also the listeners on here. This is going to be room for questions. There'll be some other people possibly that are going to be joining us. So this won't be me hogging this isn't like a podcast interview. This is definitely more of a round table. And I'm just getting us started here. But I do know, I don't want to assume because a lot of our conversations, Charlie, everybody doesn't know about. So we'll segment this a little bit and
Okay.
let's start maybe with Dallas and then we can move on to Humble and then I'll ask some more follow-up questions and then we can also open it up to everyone else after they know just a little bit more about your story and context and specifically what you're doing. So with Dallas, one of the things, or Dallas Inc., excuse me, one of the things that just even as I've gotten to know you more and work with you and obviously published and work on your stories, things like that, like the framework and the model for helping entrepreneurs, helping startups get their idea out there faster. Like tell us a little bit more about how, and what you mentioned you've worked with over 400 entrepreneurs, like tell us a little bit more about this process and what that entailed.
Great. Yeah. So the process. Sorry, got to keep the King's English now. God, I'm really making a mess of this. The process started from when, having done this for years, people would start to ask me for help in launching their idea or understanding what the process might be. And when it was friends, that was easy. Happy to spend as much time as possible. But then it sort of expanded into friends of friends, and then friends of friends of friends,
Mm.
and you end up in a situation where you're offering help and you end up chasing people. And so what I started to do was to say, look, I'll give you 30 days of my time. And and then started building this sort of almost like paint by numbers thing, like do number one and then get number two.
Mm-hmm.
It became such an efficient way of focusing on what really, really, really matters, focusing on that market validation, that it really started to work. If you've only got 30 days, then it doesn't really matter how perfect the website is, or you
Mm.
don't need to incorporate. You just need to understand whether someone you don't know wants to buy what you've got or what your idea is. And the idea that you've got will be wrong and it will evolve. I mean, no one's idea is perfect straight out of the gate. And it's helping people putting those parameters in place. It says, please focus on the end goal of achieving a sale to someone you don't know. And then we were invited to Dallas Startup Week in 2021, and Mayor Eric Johnson was there. And the week before, we were like, we've got this process, and they were looking for something that we could offer, and so we called it Dallas Inc. Amazingly, that domain name was available, and so we launched Dallas Inc. in 9 days, and then presented it and started we gave away $100,000 of entrepreneurial support, and that was the beginning of it. That was our sort of marketing and press launch, and from then it's gone from strength to strength.
So as this kind of, and one of the things, and you say this very nicely when you say like it, when I thought about this because I've heard you tell part of the story, and you said you were it started with a friend, and then it started with friends, then friends, and then it grew, and so you knew you had something. So when you start thinking about taking on new entrepreneurs into this system, this ecosystem you've built, like what are some of the things that you're looking for? Like, are you validating an idea? Are you asking them? Is there an interview process? Like, how does that piece of it look like to make sure that it's worth your time in Dallas Inc?
Yeah, there is an interview process. We don't work with everyone. The number one thing is passion, and the second one would be some insight into resilience. What we tend to find is that people who've been thinking about something for a very long time, 3-4 years ago, they had this idea for something, and it's always sat there in the background. They've done lots of research. They've always wanted to do it, but the process is not clear. I mean, most people assume that the first thing you need to do when you're launching a new idea is incorporate your business. And it's not the first thing to do. And if they're passionate about it, if they can receive the feedback saying this may not be exactly what you think it will be, and this process is difficult, and they're still passionate, then that's the biggest thing. Obviously, the idea has to have. We have 4 metrics about how the idea needs to pass. You know, commercially viable, protectable. Are they competitors? If there's no competitor, that actually is probably a bad thing. There's a few things that we go through with these guys, and the way in which it's presented is that most startups fail. The 95% statistic. But what people also don't know is that they cost about $250,000 to fail, and it takes about 12 months. Whereas we say, look, give us 30 days. If at the end of that it's not going to work or you haven't stuck with it, then you've actually saved yourself an incredible amount of time and money.
Sorry about that. I think it just cut out on me. So I want to spend some, and again, we keep these to about an hour. So I want to kind of transition, and I want to go to this evolution into Humble. So you started with Dallas Inc., so we know where that went. And now as you've kind of evolved and you're expanding this, like, how did the Humble idea come about?
So Dallas Inc. and Humble are very separate. Dallas Inc. is a consultancy and a fund, and it's driven commercially, whereas Humble is a resource that is primarily free and is designed to enable anyone anywhere to learn the kind of what not to do and what to do aspects of entrepreneurship, plus understand what products and resources are out there. When you talk to someone who's an experienced tech entrepreneur, they know all about the tech stack, there's Notion, Airtable, Slack. They understand these products and they know how to use them. But entrepreneurship isn't just about launching an app. It's any kind of innovative, problem-solving, self-sustaining project. And in order to do that, there are thousands of tools out there that can help. And Humble is designed to share those tools, share those resources, answer those questions. One of the things we will be providing at the end of March is a glossary of pretty much every single entrepreneurial term without trying to appear snobbish or expert. It's the reason it's called Humble is because equity without ego is our tagline. This should be accessible to everybody. You shouldn't just need to be male and pale and speak English to have access to this stuff. We're as a society losing out on huge amounts of innovation if we focus on that. And there are no stupid questions. Some people don't want to ask them or don't know where to start, and that's the driver. That's the point of it. That you could be anywhere in any language wanting to launch something, and this will help you.
Yeah, I think it's a big win. And as I think about when people are in different, just different places in their career and their entrepreneurial journey, whether they're just getting started, whether a little bit further along. I mean, I know they're two completely separate ventures, but between Dallas Inc. and between Humble, like you're covering a pretty wide ground. So now, I guess now that we kind of have a good base, let's just say, or basis into your background, also the companies and the projects that you're working on currently. I mean, always a great and big topic among VC entrepreneur circles. What are your recommendations for startups that are raising money? Let's just say, I don't know, in today's environment, next 6 months, like what would be your recommendations be?
That's fantastic. First off, to realize that there is money out there, and we hear mixed signals from the different stages of the investment community about what money is available. And depending on the stage of a venture, if there's a new idea, you're not going to go straight to VC. You need to prove that it works, and you need some initial funding, and that can come from friends and family, come from angel groups, angels. Maybe if it's exceptional or the team has got a great background, then private equity. But keeping things totally transparent I don't think has ever been more relevant. If there's something wrong, then share it. And if that means you put off an investor now, that's actually going to save you a lot of trouble in the long run. That's the biggest one. Is being totally transparent, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's great advice. And looking from the just overall climate, I guess we're looking at the rate that's raising the money side of things, but just overall, entrepreneurs just in general, I don't know if it's just my feel or maybe my circles, but it seems pretty kind of tense at the moment, like in today's, environment. Is there a solution to that?
Humble, I suppose.
That's a good one.
Yeah, going back to basics, that's the solution. Overcoming the reason we launched Humble and the reason we're doing an interview series of our own is because of the fear of feeling stupid, fear of failure, fear of being rejected. Like all of that requires a level of mental fortitude that we could all do with a little bit more of. When launching your own venture, the tension of putting yourself out there, getting feedback that may not always be positive, that overcoming that fear by kind of ignoring a lot of the doom scrolling, naysaying, bad press out there. Just if you've got a good product, someone will buy it, and trusting in that process and pushing through the fear.
Mm. From your end, and I guess I don't know if this is the best transition, Charlie. I'm trying to work it in, but you said you're doing an interview series. Is the cage fighter work into this one, or am I pulling up that story in the wrong time?
No, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what
come
we're doing.
on, I got it, Charlie. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's all part of Humble. So we are building a platform that is intended to provide every bit of information possible about how to launch something. But you can't just provide a glossary and expect people to read it. All of the information we're providing can be consumed in 3 different ways. You can read it, you can watch it, and you can listen to it. And part of that media series is interviewing a bunch of innovators, entrepreneurs, people who've done their own thing, and asking them the question, how do you deal with fear? And we have a pretty cool series lined up. One of them, and the reason I was in Mexico last week with such terrible reception, was to interview a cage fighter who he's actually a doctor as well, which is a bit interesting. So asking him how he deals with the fear of walking into a fight and then having to go to work, not the next day, but the next week, and try and mend people when he spent 2 hours trying to hurt someone. It was a fascinating session. It was only the second one we've done. The straight answer was that, how do you deal with fear? Because I go into that absolutely terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's amazing. But you're just doing it anyway. Because when I come through the other end of it, I feel great. But in that moment, I'm on autopilot. I've told myself I'm doing it. And the reason for us trying these interview series is to show people that, it's not, what's that old quote? I don't know who it's from. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the existence of fear, but doing it anyway. And that's what this guy does. He goes in to try and beat another human being to a pulp, and then goes back to the hospital. It's nuts. So yeah, that's why I was interviewing a cage fighter, and that's part of the interview series that we're doing, so people can get some inspiration in odd ways. And it's not talking. Humble is not designed to build unicorns. We don't care about a $1 billion company. There's enough going on. We care about making tens of thousands of companies that pull in $500,000, $1 million. If you were to ask anyone if they would, want a job that allowed them freedom and the ability to look after their family and not too much stress, and you get $500,000 a year, everybody would say yes. And that's what we're trying to do. It doesn't matter whether it's an app, a hair salon, a grocery store. It doesn't matter. They're all innovators and they're all entrepreneurs. And breaking down the barriers of, I've got this idea, but I don't know how to launch it. That's what we're doing.
That's great. And is this just timeline for context? Because this will probably, this is obviously being recorded and it'll be distributed, and we're recording this in February 23rd of 2023. So just for a little time marker there. What is this interview series out, or is it coming out later this year, or just to give us a feel? Because I know some people are going to want to follow up on that one.
That's a very good question, and I will answer it as though it is February 23rd, whereas I want to answer it from 23rd next year. We are in beta testing for the platform at the moment, and we will be releasing this alongside the full launch, which will be in April. I announced the launch on the podcast with you a month ago. In January sometime, beginning of January, which was very fun. That was the day that the beta site went live, humble.inc.
Oh yeah,
I've got to plug it, man. I've got to push that in. Humble.ink.
absolutely.
The series will be coming out bits and pieces over the next 6 months, starting probably in May. So we're still making it. We're still recording a lot of it. We don't want to release just one. We want to record a few of them.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to see. This is going to be great content. Oh,
Hopefully.
yeah, no, this is going to be good. Are you kidding me? That story you just told right now, I'm like, I want to see it. That's why I guess I could say I asked for the audience, but I was being self-interested. I wanted to see the rest of what the doctor had to say. You teed it up. I'm hooked. So that's good.
Thanks.
All right. So
See, right there, that's market validation.
there you go. Done.
So, exactly. We haven't even finished it and we've sold it.
There you go. I'm in. I'll tell you about one that I was working on earlier. No, I won't say that on this one. I'll tell you. I was just thinking about it. I think we sold it, but we're working on it. Chirag doesn't even know about this one yet. I'll tell you later, Chirag. All right. So, all right, back to our. There you go. Back to the interview. So, another thing that you have, vantage point as an investor, as a VC. I'm always curious whenever I have VC on or whenever I have somebody that's in that sphere. I like to ask this question. What would you say the best experience or skill is, or what makes a VC a VC? Like, what's that skill or what's that experience that helps them be good at what they do?
That's a great question. Any entrepreneur who's gone to raise institutional money can relate to the following narrative, and as you see it in films as well. In fact, The Big Short has got a great example of it when they go into Morgan Stanley trying to raise some money, and you go into the VC's office and you get met with a guy who's straight out of university, doesn't have any entrepreneurial experience, doesn't really have any finance experience, hasn't really read the investment deck, and you've hyped yourself up and you travel to the meeting and you're sitting there waiting and hoping that this is going to be something useful, and you get dismissed by someone who doesn't understand either side of the table. And that is the most frustrating and downheartening thing ever. Deal with rejection, that's no problem. But the disdain and the lack of respect shown by VCs who haven't gone through the entrepreneurial journey is it's prevalent. It's way too prevalent. So the greatest skill has to be VCs who've been on the other side of the table, who have either launched something and succeeded and launched a fund, or they've launched something and it hasn't succeeded, but they understand the stress and the pain of it. This isn't just a job for the entrepreneur asking for resources or selling part of their company, not giving away a part of their company, selling it. And when the VCs is just a number and they're going home at the end of the day with a paycheck anyway, it shows a huge lack of respect. But you can tell pretty much instantly when a VC has actually gone through the entrepreneurial journey themselves, because they listen. It's obvious. Now, some people they have a lot more respect and they understand, they can empathize, but they don't necessarily know. But when you see someone who's gone to friends and family, the bank, PE, VC, anybody who's got any money to try and get their, not even necessarily their dream, but this business moving forward, and you get rejected over and over, and sometimes it's embarrassing to ask, and you're worried, and are they going to ask me a question I can't answer, and all of that stuff starting out. When you're met with some kindness from someone who literally holds the cash you need in their hand, and this meeting is going to be the thing that defines the start of that journey. That empathy is vital, but it isn't just about getting money. If the VC can't understand the journey that the person's been on, this is a relationship that's going to last at minimum 3 years. Depending on the stage of investment, 3 to 5, 6 years. If that VC doesn't care, then you don't want to raise the money from them anyway.
Man. All right, so I think this is a good transition point to open it up to. So this part of it is where we like to get people also involved that are here. So I know we got Mark. I see Denley. Denley joined us. Good to see you, Denley. So Denley on the line as well. So if anyone has questions for Charlie, now would be a good time. And as everybody knows, by the way, I got plenty of questions all day long, so I can ask them too. But I want to get other people involved here. So, and who's first?
Hey, I'll go. It's me, Mark.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
It's a pleasure meeting you. This is a great conversation. I always love listening to people's life experiences and business experience. It's very motivational. My name is Mark Whitehorn. I'm with DPI Showcase Websites. I hail from Miami Beach, Florida. We are a tech company that does websites for realtors across the United States, and we've been doing this for about 10 years now. So in my travels, I go to a lot of conferences, real estate conferences mostly, to just to get an idea as to what's going on in the industry. And about a month ago, I was in New York City at the Inman conference. Brad Inman is a blogger who's made a huge business out of it. And he had some interesting speakers up there, and they were all talking about VCs. And the reason that the conversation started was there's a brokerage called Compass Realty, which burned through like, I don't know, $1.5 billion in 10 years and hasn't made a profit. There's another company, Open Door, which was buying properties, which there are very few of, and they've just lost like $1 billion in the last year. And the conversation turned that VCs are no longer looking for growth, they're looking for profit. And that these companies that they invest in better start making some money. And then to add another dimension to this, people were tech companies and investing in them. And then you saw through all the headlines where all the tech companies are laying off people like crazy because they haven't been making a profit. And then the latest news was Realtor.com, who was owned by Rupert Murdoch, was trying to sell Realtor.com. And he was talking to one company called CoStar asking $3 billion, and they walked away from it. And I don't know the particulars, but I would have to imagine that Realtor.com is probably bleeding money. So, I mean, I see a whole change in the environment of the VC world, the tech world, and I would just love to get your perspective on this.
Yeah, great. Interestingly, Mark, I once tried to buy broker.com, and the guy at the time, I don't know who owns it now, he quoted me, I think, $125 million. And I went back to him asking if that was a typo. He was an unregistered, he just owned the website, and he was waiting for, someone to come along and buy it. Maybe someone has. But at the time, the most expensive domain name was lasvegas.com for like 90 million. I was like, I think we're on different commas are in different places on this conversation for us. I think that it's really just to step back and talk about VC as a word, nomenclature, whatever. There are very different stages of the size of check for something that still gets called venture capital. Arguably, if you're an institution looking to guarantee 50% success rate on your money, that's not really venture. It's just a bank. But that's the cynic in me. You've got angel and seed, fine. It's really sort of a growth level. You cross over into what people traditionally call private equity, but it's still venture capital. And these guys are investing, checks are sort of 5 to 50 million. And then you've got sort of crossover VC, which is more like the 50 million to 100 million. And then after that, you're in sort of buyout stage. So the VC level of people buying massive tech companies or investing massive amounts in them at the top level of VC, that really is huge ticket value. What they are likely trying to do is create growth and profit through efficiency. They'll buy a few things, asset strip them, fire a lot of people, and there you've got growth because you've cut your costs and you were growing anyway. But as long as you can maintain the service, you've cut your costs. That's a sort of a different beast. But the very fact that people are only now talking about, oh, it'd be a good idea if our investments actually made some money, for me, it's amazing. People will invest in something to build market share, and that's the growth investment. But in a market that is much more uncertain, having something that has, quote, good fundamentals and isn't bloated and has at least profitability on the near-term horizon, it's just makes a lot more sense.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please go on.
No, you go ahead.
The thing to remember with the VC model now chasing profitability is because the limited partners behind them who've invested their money, they've pledged their money. These are the guys who are now potentially rethinking things. So they can put their money anywhere. They've chosen to put it with this VC, and now they're saying we want to play it safe. we don't want to invest in long term. We want to invest in something whose nearish term is going to be profitable. So the VCs have got this incredible pressure coming up for the next year. The LPs, if they start getting things wrong, the LPs will pull their money, and that's why people are the VCs are for the short term playing it safe, I think.
Thank you. It used to be where if you invested in a company is because you wanted to grow vertically or horizontally, add to your product line, and it made good business sense. And then I remember when the .com bust came around, it was all these, like investors or people going public with diapers.com, which were really dumb ideas, but people were like gung ho. Oh, it's the internet. Oh wow, it's going to be like crazy. And we see a similar thing that happened a year ago or 2 years ago with blockchain. Oh, blockchain, yeah, it's going to take over the world, and then that kind of fizzled. So it seems like we keep going in cycles where people go, oh, it makes good common sense. Where I need to buy this because it adds to my portfolio. And then we go into another cycle where people go, oh, well, let's just throw some money against the wall and see what sticks.
I agree. I mean, I think that you've missed. I think it really has died in the last 18 months, which is NFTs. I mean, no one talks about that anymore. And you can see the potential for if you've got a video game that's got avatars you can buy, and you can skin your gun and all that kind of stuff, and you can create a digital version of that. That makes a lot of sense because you've already got that market. But creating an entire separate catalog of digital things that can be screen grabbed, it just why? So yeah, skipping through that. And now we've got AI, and there's a bunch of people who are going to make a lot of bad deals in the next 3 to 6 months because of the AI hype train. But we're talking really about technology. I mean, it's the tech crunch has been from possibly from overly high valuations, massive hiring sprees based on projected growth that isn't there, and investing in technology that they didn't ask if the customer really wanted. I mean, look at the metaverse. Okay, great. So I can go to an office virtually. I'd rather not do either.
Well, we're going through a transition post-pandemic. We were stuck at home, so we watched lots of Hulus and Netflix and Disney Plus. And now all of a sudden we're like, all right, I'm going out. I'm spending those same dollars and I'm going to go take a cruise, or I'm going to go to Europe, or I'm going to go eat some fabulous food. I was listening to what Bob Iger from Disney was saying. It was a couple of weeks ago, where he lost 2.5 million subscribers to Disney Plus. Those are some serious dollars, and those are some serious people who are no longer have employment.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's saying it, and it's absolutely true that the pandemic did change the way we operate, the way we invest, the way we consume. We live in interesting times.
Well, it's a transition, and you have to know how to go through transitions. In my opinion, it's the only constant is change.
Yeah, unfair.
Yeah, Adam, I'm taking up all your time.
No, you just validated my idea. Now I get to drop it because you brought it up. You said people are wanting to go on cruises. So funny. I've always wanted to host a cruise and do that kind of thing ever since I was early in my career in finance, and I saw Forbes did one, and they're on their 38th year this year. And one of our authors in one of the next books, that's his business, like group cruises and stuff like that. So we're gonna figure out a first annual Mission Matters cruise. And I didn't think I was gonna get to bring it up, but you brought it up. I got to work 2 things in today: the cage fighter and the cruise.
Count me in, buddy. I'm there. I'll meet you at the martini bar.
I've been wanting to do that since I was in my early 20s, and I'm like, now we're gonna do it. Come on.
Wow. I think I've never been on a cruise. The idea sounds great, but also the idea of being stuck on a boat with hundreds or thousands of people I don't really like sounds miserable.
Well, that was the point. That's why I agree with that piece of it. But the other piece of it was that's why I always wanted to have our own. Like to have, obviously we won't have the whole boat, but whatever X amount of
Dream
people
big,
from
man.
our community and entrepreneurs to curate some good content, some good speakers, add some value. Just like Forbes does. I mean, they do a great job. There's just like an investor summit, and they've been doing it again 38 years. They've been doing it.
Wow.
Every single year. So I've been seeing that for years and years. So I got to start somewhere. They started with a year one. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail it, Charlie.
No, that's
but
great. I think it's a fantastic
I got
idea.
too happy. I was like, come on, Cage Fighter and a Cruise all in one Twitter space. We're rocking and rolling. Dunley, welcome. I don't know if you had anything that you wanted. I don't want to hog all the time. Dunley's another one that's in our community and an author as well.
He's
he's a listener today. Oh, I didn't even see that. It was blocked out on my screen. I just noticed that he is a listener today. So, Charlie, going into, I'm just talking about specifically for your businesses and like for what's next. Like, what is next for you? Like in terms of this next year, you said you got the obviously we got Humble. We have the interview series you mentioned. Tell us a little bit more about the platform and just plans for the future here.
Yeah, kick back, relax. No, I wish.
Yeah, right. You're
so
going to Mexico for an interview? No way you're kicking back and relaxing.
There were some margaritas there for sure. But so we back to like the earlier question, like what's the thing that entrepreneurs should focus on? Transparency. The reason for transparency is because it shows the value and the potential of the business, like really truly. And it's something that people actually really should want to focus on, even the bad bits. We have created a product line, as Mark said, that includes some autonomous websites, a price comparison website as well, called the Comparison Company, the consultancy service, and Humble. So we have, within this small group, kind of de-risked our monthly operating environment. And it has allowed us to invest in technology in a way that we couldn't 2 years ago. Now, the fund is something separate. That's I would love to turn around to people involved and say, actually, we've got this great idea, we're going to invest in it. But it doesn't really work like that. Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure that we are able to access early stage tech as quickly as possible. But we're combining all of that technology into Humble. So there's a marketplace that people can at least see the stack and the technology and the resources that people are using to succeed. We're building a community piece as well. An enormous amount of resources. As I said, you can read, listen, and watch everything. Thank God for voice transcription. Otherwise, we'd be writing it ourselves. But depending on how people like to consume their media, that's going to be a big part of it. And then we are also building I haven't said anything about this yet. I'm not. No, actually, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of content from a lot of really interesting sources on the platform, available to everybody for free. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Sorry, I shouldn't have steered myself down that corner. Oh well. Yeah, so
I almost got some new stuff. Come on. You know me. I'm always trying to see what's going on.
I tell you what, the next podcast we do, I'll tell you all about it.
All good. All good.
This really is about providing a resource for people who don't have access to the kind of information that they might need or want. And trawling TikTok for entrepreneurial advice is not a strategy. We are trying to, and if you are, then best of luck. But
that's a good headline, though. But that is a good headline. Trolling TikTok for entrepreneurial advice is not a strategy. Chirag, write that down, please. That's a good one.
It is recorded.
I like it. So. No, I like that. That's a good one. Go ahead. Trolling and TikTok. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Humble is kind of if I had a second or third tagline, it would be like an anti-social network. This is not about building a bunch of followers and launching your media career because of what you say. This is about providing accurate information for people who ruin or make their lives based on the information. And going on the TikTok and just the data feed suggesting to you that this attractive 23-year-old has got some great financial advice. Like, that's not a good thing. And just because someone's got 1 million views doesn't mean it's correct. And that it's really, I think it's really, really dangerous. And we're trying to create something that is a verified resource for the startup community.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, there are no stupid questions.
Yeah. It's good. Well, we normally try to keep these to about an hour. So maybe if somebody has a last question for Charlie, if you like. If not, I have a last one for sure. But if somebody else wants to chime in, I don't want to.
Adam, you're the man, Adam. Go for it.
All right, I got it.
Cool.
I can't let you drop that one and then just run away. I was going to let you, Charlie, but you mentioned there's going to be a lot of bad deals in AI coming up. I had it, and I bit my tongue. I was like, no, we're not going to derail this interview. But we're towards the end, so it's kind of like rants are allowed. Whatever you want's allowed. We're at the end of it. So, what do you mean by that, Charlie? I had to.
Okay, so, right, perfect. So as Mark alluded to earlier, you could write. Actually, no, hang on. I'm going to phrase it differently. Normally, you would have written a pitch deck, and now you don't even need to. I could get AI to write a pitch deck and ask it to include the most buzzwordy buzzwords for attracting, the wrong kind of money, and it would be, an organic blockchain with generative AI that offers sustainable agriculture. All the buzzwords in one thing.
Mm.
Very, very few people really understand how this stuff works, and the tech community is very easy to say, oh, we are an AI company, but actually what's really happening is it's attached to one of the very few AI engines which control access to their own servers. And it's all happened at once. So a company that says, oh, we're an AI company and we, create menus based on, the color of the sky, whatever. I don't know where I went with that. That was a really stupid example. But you can see how someone would say, oh, we're an AI company when they're not. They're generative. They're using access to a tool that could be shut off very quickly or change very quickly or be banned, whatever. And it's understanding that back to traditional kind of models, the supply chain of their product can be damaged very, very quickly and very easily. In the same way as, the supply chain of a physical resource could be stopped. Look at computer chips during COVID. Like, it could just stop, and the knock-on effect is massive. And suddenly, the ability for that quote AI company to deliver their product stops because people didn't look behind the curtain and understand: is it yours, or are you using somebody else's under some kind of license agreement that might suddenly, go from $100 a month to $10,000 a day?
Mm.
And that's what I mean, is that they're going to jump, and it would be very easy. We could do it now. We could do a Mission Matters. We own a domain name we actually own a couple of domains, which are .ai, that we bought years ago, and we've still got them. And the temptation to, like, right, screw it, let's just use ChatGPT, build a website, get ChatGPT to build the website for us, launch the products, and see what happens. Like, it's tempting, but as a thought experiment only, because you're not actually delivering any value. And that's sort of the thing. It's very, very easy to get caught up in the blockchain hype, the NFT hype. There is a lot more value, and I do genuinely think it has changed everything. But the veneer of we're an AI company when you're referencing ChatGPT is not the case.
Can I just butt in for 1 second? It's Mark again. I agree with you 100%. Going to a lot of tech conferences, you hear people say, well, AI, and then they misuse AI, artificial intelligence. They misuse it because something has an automated something in it. It's not thinking, it's not creating. And it is a big misuse. My concern about my concern about this whole AI chat GPT and all that, it has a place in society, but I don't think it has a place for everyone in society. And I think the majority of the people don't have a need for writing a term paper or, things like that. And I hope it doesn't get blown out of proportion. I understand Microsoft and Alphabet having to, invest in it because that is their bailiwick. They need to stay on top of this because there is an AI search engine that's out there that might topple Google.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but I just hope that we don't go through another one of these blockchain NFT crazes with this whole AI thing.
That's exactly what I meant when I said there's going to be a lot of bad deals made. Hopefully there won't be that many, but I can see it happening. I can see investors who are in a different sector, a different industry jumping in. Years ago, I saw a screenshot, a picture of a presentation that someone was doing at a conference, and you may have seen this as well. And the presentation was one slide, and at the top of the slide it said, "Do you need a blockchain?" And it had a flow chart straight down one line. At the bottom of the screen, it said no, and that was it. Do you need a blockchain? No, because most people don't, and most people don't understand the relevance and usefulness of it, or worse, even how to implement it. Are we going to be able to save a lot of time in repetitive tasks with AI? Yeah, absolutely. Are we then going to use that time more creatively and productively? Almost certainly not. We'll just keep doing more work.
Not only that, but the energy consumption of running a blockchain. It was a small town that was complaining because the fans humming was keeping them up at night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, listening to this, I'm telling you, I'm glad that I don't invest people's money anymore. I would have had to have all these conversations.
We're a ray of sunshine.
I love the media business. Charlie is different. You don't have to you can just talk about it. I don't have to worry about where that money's getting allocated. Oh, it's great.
But it's your business is, I'm going to say.
I just mean being a fiduciary. I mean being a fiduciary to invest for others. That's what I mean. That's the context.
Yeah, but with AI, you're irreplaceable. They can't replace you. No one can replace you, Adam. You're wonderful.
I don't know. We're looking at Adam AI. We've been talking about this. Let's see what's going on. I mean, I want to. My dream is a widget. I want to be a widget so that we can just plug the questions that you could have in their website. Adam can do an interview from anybody's website in the world. I'm in. I want a widget. We don't even have to make it AI.
You could. Well, then you're staring down the barrel of deep fake. So we could use all of the footage we've.
AI doesn't have your hair.
Oh, come on. Well, I think that's a good. And on that note, Chirag, come on, man, step in, save me.
You went down the path to being a widget.
Yeah, exactly. You made this mess.
I know.
Humble.inc. Seeing as this is going to be definitely cut, I'm going to throw Humble.inc as a website people should look at.
Absolutely, and we'll have that for sure in the notes and everything as always. So Humble.inc will be backlinked. But Chirag, do you want to take it away?
Yep. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Again, these conversations are recorded, so we will be sharing these live across our website and across our social platforms, our newsletter, like we normally do. Tune in next week. We have another exciting guest coming on, and that one will be focused on real estate with a real estate media influencer. Speaking of media, right? Noelle Randall, and she's got about 600,000 YouTube subscribers and built up quite a bit of a following, and has amassed quite a bit of a real estate empire under her. So that one will be great. But thank you again, everyone, for joining us tonight.
You guys.
This after.
Thanks, Charlie. And Mark, make that one if you can, for sure, Mark. I've been meaning to introduce you to Noelle. I keep on forgetting, so hopefully you can make that one.
Count me in, amigo.
Awesome. See you guys later. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dudley.
Thank you so much, guys.
Mark.
Take care.